I left such a rough situation and raw dogged it to New York knowing nobody and left back home with like a best friend.
Who you relate to as well.
Yeah, that makes me so, I didn't like, we've never like
so
fully
crazy.
told the story
Yeah.
like
That
that
way.
before. And like,
I know, it really is beautiful.
such like a dark up time for me. And like to have you here too and like thriving and like,
I know, like,
look
what are
at
we doing
us,
right now?
what
Like,
the
what?
fuck?
It's so
like
weird.
If me, like 1-2 months sober, like knew the kind of friendship that I had and the success I had in my recovery and the people I had around me, I would not have believed you.
Join me, Sasha Pieterse, on Women in the Nude, Season 2, where we bear it all, except for our bodies. We'll leave that to your imagination.
Welcome to Women in the Nude. I am so glad that you guys are here. Trevi and Kate, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
This is awesome because this is the first time I've met you, but I've heard so much about you. And I guess my first question is, how are you guys so confident?
Oh,
We have a joke.
We get that question
We
a
get
lot.
that question a lot. And not to
You fake it. No.
You take this one.
You know what?
I'm faking it, man.
I actually love this question, and I know we get it a lot. I'm obsessed with it.
I was prepped for this. I was prepped for this answer or this question, but I don't know.
So we have an advice segment at the end of our episodes, every episode, and every time someone says how to be confident, and it's just become a running joke. So actually obsessed that you said that.
Yeah.
Wait, do you actually want me to answer?
I do actually want you to
okay.
answer. Yeah, absolutely.
The secret.
Yeah.
It's the secret. It's the actual explanation.
I think that there are so many factors that went into my confidence, and I think that every day is not perfect. I mean, we'll get into it, but being sober, I have 5 years of sobriety, certainly helped.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. I think that finding things that I love about myself that have nothing to do with the way I looked really helped. Because, you know, we grow up as women and they're like, oh, all that matters is how you look. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So let's just base my worth off that. And doing that has been really helpful, and finding role models and, good God, blocking people on social media that make you feel bad about yourself has been huge. And just acknowledging that not every day is going to be perfect, and it's okay to have days where you're like, nah, I'm not feeling it, and still giving yourself love. So
I'm also a big advocate of like fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, am I allowed to curse?
Oh, as much as you want. Yeah. My favorite
I'm like
word.
I'm like a porcupine sometimes, where it's just like on the outside it's like, then on the inside I'm just a crawly little creature. Like I'm just moping around. But you know what? In all honesty, like I think the sobriety aspect does help, and it's some sort of like character development at the end of the day. Like when a human goes through so much like addiction, for example, and getting through that and making that on the other side, that is such a huge accomplishment, because there's such a small percentage of people who don't end up figuring that out down the line. You know, my story is a little bit different than like, you know, the average woman. Like I did not grow up in the way that I wanted, but like there was a version of me on the inside that just like didn't exist on the outside. And I think that like once that came to fruition, it was like, I feel like both parts match. And it's just like that also took me to a whole different level separate from sobriety.
Yeah.
And it's real, and people can say that it's not, or it's a mental illness or whatever, but it's like at the end of the fucking day, like if I really meant something, like I mean it. There's no reason I'm just gonna go under the knife. There's no reason I'm gonna like take hormones. There's no like, it's how I feel, like, and
It's
like,
not an easy process. It's not a walk in the park.
It's not like, oh my God, hey, that'd be crazy if I got more likes. Let me just go under the knife and take some hormones. Like, no, like it's a soul thing. And like, if you believe in a soul, good. And if you don't, whatevs. But like, I wouldn't fucking do it if I didn't fucking mean it. So also getting on the other side of that, I think is just a huge factor for me.
I feel like confidence only comes from insecurity. You like have to feel insecure before you can feel confident. I don't think you just like wake up confident.
Yeah.
It's in so many ways a choice and a combination of things. I think, it's getting to the point where you can own the parts of yourselves that you love and don't love. Because ultimately, like you're saying, every day is going to be different. You're not going to be happy with everything all the time. But, you know, you have to be the one who goes to sleep at night with yourself. And, you know, living with those decisions and the way that you think about yourself really matters. And I think we evolve.
Yeah.
We're constantly growing if we're doing it right. And you just got to love every version of yourself. That's right. Yeah. That's,
and try
that's
not
the
to
hope.
let people take that away from you.
Right.
Right. Because
Because
I mean, that's I think one of the hardest parts.
Yeah.
Totally.
We were talking about that in the last episode, how like we had this theory that like, you know what? I feel like women have always loved themselves from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But people along the way have kind of fucked us up. At least in my personal experience.
It's true. I mean, I was such a confident kid. Like I would run around and I had this big stomach and I'd be like, everybody touch it. Like who cares? And like I was thinking about it, and at the age when you're like 13 or 14 and you find out how you're supposed to look as a woman and act is when I was like, I need to take up as little space as possible. So I feel like the past like 10 years or so, I've been learning how to like take space up again and be okay with that. Yeah, and unlearn it.
Holding space.
Holding space. But
Protecting your peace.
Yeah.
All the things that we, there you go.
wait, what about you?
You know what? Well, I guess what I feel like, maybe it's just society, but I feel like, is it Jenga? Yeah, that game where like people slowly take bits of you away, and until you collapse, right? If you let them, essentially. Yeah. So I feel like that's, I don't know, I'm like a visual person. I feel like that's kind of how I feel about it, and I think you just got to learn how to like hold those pieces together, because kind of fuck everybody else, right? You know,
Exactly. At the end of the day, you are what you have.
Yeah.
Like you said. And I think that like, you know, with thought patterns and everything, like the things that you think about yourself and the things that you tell yourself that are negative, if you truly like believe those things, that could be so damaging and stick with you for a really long time. And it's just really important to like identify. Like for me, I used to really like struggle with a lot of like negative self-talk and a lot of like body image stuff, and then also just separate things as far as like gender dysphoria type stuff. But like getting to that point where I'm like, okay, but like what the fuck can I do? It's either you make a difference or I like radically accept that this is who I am and I have to like love that, or you know, like nothing else is gonna happen. So that's also just another thing that popped in.
Yeah, I think it's two-pronged. It's learning to love yourself and with all those pieces, but also your community and who you decide to surround yourself with.
Totally.
Well,
you
that's
know,
a big one.
I think we're also, I mean, at least the way that I was brought up is that, you know, family is extremely important. And in so many ways, like, you just got to like accept family for who they are, and they're your family. So you just, you know, you got to love them. But at the end of the day, like chosen family in so many ways is more important.
Yeah.
And just because somebody is your relative does not give them the right to treat you like shit and make you feel small, right? Those are the people that are supposed to be the people to build you up and help you be the best that you can be. And if that person is not that, they don't deserve a place in your life, no matter who they are.
At the fuck all.
No matter if they're your sibling, your parent, your uncle, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, respect is something that should be a given with the people that are closest to you.
Right.
And I think we get that backwards. And as I grow up, you know, as many different things have happened in my life, I've changed in so many ways. The more and more I don't care what people think.
Right.
And I think that's the greatest gift.
Yeah.
Part of that was becoming a mom. For me, I was like, all of these other things are not important. My kid and like my life and my immediate family and like where we're going and growing is important. And it doesn't mean that like outside criticism isn't productive, because some of it is.
Right.
An echo chamber isn't healthy either. So I think it's just being able to like evaluate and do your best to be like a critical thinker. And, you know, raising a boy is very interesting as well, because I always thought I always thought I was going to have a girl, not because I only wanted a girl, because there was only women in my family for the most part, as like first kids. And so it was just a surprise when I had a boy.
Yeah.
And it's both easier and also a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
All of my friends that have girls, that is a terrifying thing for me, because you don't really realize until you have a kid how many things you have to teach them.
Right.
It's not just like a blanket being a good human.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, should be your
Pretty
first
much,
goal.
yeah.
Right.
But when you think about raising a girl, it's like, oh my God, there are so many things that I have to like teach a girl. You almost have to teach a girl to fear and like assess everything more than you do with a boy.
Right.
And that is, there's so many pressures there and so many things you feel like you have to protect a girl from, that I am not envious about my friends with girls. And I'm like, okay, with a boy, I need to raise him to be a good human.
I was going to say.
I need to raise him to
100%,
like
yeah.
stand up for people and know what consent is and like certain things that are so
Please.
important. Like just
Yeah.
don't put another asshole into the world. Yeah, that's the goal. But motherhood has definitely changed me in that way.
We talked about this last episode. We were like,
I know.
you
I'm
need
like,
to be
did
better
you take
parent-
notes? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, like it's. I mean, I obviously don't know you, but you seem like a very good mother, and I'm like, thank
Aw,
God she has a boy because we need better mothers for these men because they're like not allowed to cry after 2 years old, and then they're just like, just go out there and like fuck a bunch of people. I mean, obviously you don't say that at 2 years old, but like, it's just like that's what they're taught and like how to be masculine and what it means to be masculine. So it's like having a boy or a girl or anyone is terrifying, but I think it's so important, and I love that you're talking about like consent for these men and like I feel like
Basics.
so and that's not taught.
My
to a lot of
kid
men.
is so friendly. Like he wants to hug and say hi to everybody he possibly can.
my God,
What's
cute.
interesting about this age is he's 4.
Okay.
And it's really hard to teach a kid this version of consent at this age. So he wants to go up and hug anyone.
Right.
And like
God,
little
scary.
kids at a playground, a lot of kids don't want that.
Right.
So I don't want to crush that sweet, friendly vibe that he has, but also like you got to respect people's space and boundaries. And that sort of thing at this age is kind of hard to teach. Yeah, and so it's also hard to get him to ask. So we're at the point where it's kind of, he doesn't feel like it's awkward, which is great, but it's kind of awkward for other people where he'll come up to you and be like, can I hug you?
Yeah.
Which is
I
like,
was gonna say, it's a
so
simple,
cute.
can I hug you?
It's so cute.
Most
Right?
people love a hug.
It's so cute. There's all these kids that are like, no. And then he'll look at me and be like, they said no. I'm like, well, you got to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then other kids say, oh, okay.
Oh my
And,
God.
he'll hug them and whatever. And it like creates this cute little friendship really quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. And I think instilling those little things now will make it less abrasive later.
Totally.
And like you're saying, with emotion, that is a huge one. Feel all your feelings. They're all okay. And it's just the biggest part of parenthood, actually, which might be the biggest. It wasn't a surprise, but it was like it's a constant thing that you work towards every single day, which is regulating your own emotions. Your kids learn more than anything from the way that you react to things, from the way that you treat them, to other people, to how you speak about other people. I mean, all the things, right? So like the biggest, and they feed off of your emotions. So the greatest gift you can give them is being able to regulate your own emotions.
Yeah.
And I have a really funny example of that. So our friend's little girl, we babysat her for a couple hours, and she is so funny and so cute and so sweet and like a princess in every way possible. And it's amazing because it's so opposite to Hendrix. I'm like, this is so fun. Like,
I love that
tea
name.
party, all the things. Oh, thanks.
I love that.
And so she came over and she wanted to ride on his little like fire truck thing that he had. And he was on it. And I saw him process it and he was kind of like, okay. And he let her ride on it. And I watched him walk away. I was like, where is he going? He like went around the corner and I kind of like peeked around the corner and he was like,
Oh my gosh.
okay. And he walked back around.
Hey, you're teaching him how to regulate his emotions.
And I've never, that was the first time I'd seen him do that before because we were always like, okay, just take a second, breathe, and then, process it or whatever. And so at the time he was 3. So I was like, well, that's awesome.
That's great.
Now, listen, it does not happen every time.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I mean, same for us, though. I mean,
yeah.
for me, I'm like,
I mean, I'm like, I can't do that
at
all the
all.
time.
I'm like, I cannot. So
Yeah, so
one's better
it's
than none.
it's like it's fascinating, those little lessons. I mean, they teach you. But aside from my experience. I guess I want to know how you guys met. Let's start there for like people that don't know.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I was a tweaker. No. Okay, so I have been pretty open about like my journey with substance abuse, specifically with alcohol and a few other drugs. The drug stuff didn't start really getting bad until, like, honestly, COVID. Like, I really...
Isolated.
Yeah, so isolated. I had nothing to do. I was like, you know what? This is the perfect time to do drugs. That's, like, crazy. So I did that. And, like, it was fun for, like, a month. And then I was like, okay, I think this is my last go at this. Because I was back and forth for years and in and out of rehabs. And I was just like, I finally made this decision where... I was going to get sober for myself. And I feel like all the other times I was like forced to by like a manager or like a parent or like a friend or whatever. And I never really went. Like as soon as I was out, I was just like back drinking again or back like just doing God knows what. Anywho, I go to rehab and, you know, when you first get sober, you make really irrational decisions, and they say not to make like a crazy decision in your first year, yeah, because your brain,
that's interesting.
No relationship, no nothing.
Yeah, so I didn't listen at all, and for some reason I just had like this gut feeling, and this was like right when I was approaching 30 days of rehab. I was like, okay, so this shit's about to end. What am I going to do? I'm going to go back to LA, go back to my apartment, be around all my drug dealers, get asked to go to the clubs and go to fucking, like, I need to get out of LA because I moved here when I was 16. So it's like the exposure of it all. I was just like, I needed a break. I was like, you know what? I need to go to New York City. I don't know why, but I do. And I'm taking all my shit and I'm going to go and I'm going to live there and I'm going to know absolutely no one. I didn't know a single person that lived in New York City that like I knew. Maybe people I've worked with or like maybe
acquaintances,
like, you know, event type shit. But like I didn't have like a friend I could be like, I'm going to New York. So I raw dogged it. Right. I looked up a couple sober livings because that's like what you should do right after rehab. It's kind of like a transitional period where like you kind of relearn life again. And I found a sober living. I talked to them on the phone for a second, and literally in less than a week, I was on a plane with 2 gigantic suitcases. And I land at like 2 a.m. Someone lets me in. It's this beautiful, like 5-story home in Chelsea. I was like, it was snowing. I was like, this is a fucking Hallmark movie. I swear to God. And then, you know, that week, Kate is like she ran shit at the house. So I met her that week. Yeah. And
wait, but okay. We would have like weekly meetings at the sober living and we would talk about new clients and they were like, and so I've been working in recovery for 1.5 years at this point, and I was getting like really burnt out. Like I loved it so much, but it is so emotionally taxing and I can't compartmentalize. Like I would take it home with me if someone relapsed, like it's just like a lot. And people are either they love it and they can do it for their whole life. And some people get burnt out after like a week. But anyways, we're having a team meeting and they were like, Trevi's coming to move in. And listen, I'm not proud of this, but you know, we all looked her up at the meeting, which is like probably not okay. But we were like, oh my God, love her music.
Totally kosher.
Yeah, right. And it's all legit. And I was just like kind of dreading it because I was like, she's going to be such a diva. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, I'm already so burnt out from this job. And then she shows up and you are a diva, but in the best way. And she's like she's this tall goddess and she's hilarious and we're getting along. And then, well, okay. So
I don't think we liked each other at first.
Yeah, we didn't. But
you're sugarcoating it.
Yeah, I'm trying to be, you know.
This is women in the nude.
This is women in the nude.
Yeah, don't pit us against each other.
At one point, you were like, I was just not having it that day, and you were joking around, and I had to give the girls their meds every night, and you were like, give me my meds now or something, and I was like, don't threaten me. And then it was like, it was a little bit tension. But then when did we start liking each other?
We started liking
We're like,
each other?
never.
No.
We never did.
I don't know. I think like once, like we had like our little intimate moments,
Yeah.
and like over time, where I was just like, this is also a tall goddess, funny legend queen. She was very much giving like.
But I was boundaried because you can't be friends with the client. So we didn't become homies.
You wanted to, though. I could see it in her eyes.
Okay,
She was
but I didn't.
Yeah,
Like, I
no,
like
you
you.
didn't. You were
Yeah.
actually really, really respectful of like the terms and the policies of that job, and making sure that everyone felt like they had the attention that they needed.
Take notes.
But in my heart of hearts, I knew that we had something so
Yeah.
special. So I lived there in the sober living for like 4 or 5 months, and then I got my own apartment, and then we started hanging out. We recorded the pilot of our podcast. We had this idea. Once we really started becoming homies, I'm like, girl, we need to talk for at least hours a week.
Somebody
And
needs to listen
someone's
to
gonna
this.
hear
Yeah,
it.
someone needs to listen.
Someone's gonna hear it. I don't
Every
care.
friendship does that, I feel like.
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
Ours is like different.
No. As long as it's not two men with a mic.
I'm
It's
begging at this
literally-
point. Like,
Anyway, so we're like, okay, this is a great idea. We're obsessed with it. And then I was like, I actually don't really love New York for me. So I was just very seasonally affected.
Yeah,
I
that
think when
happens
it's
for
gray
sure.
outside and it's gray and bright,
It's rough.
it reflects off all the buildings, so it's double gray and white. I just didn't really love it for my mental health, so I was skedaddling back home. And you?
yeah, you inspired that. Because I was like, I need a change. Don't know what. And in the back of my head, I was like, perhaps LA, but that's crazy. But then Trevi was like, I'm out. And I was like,
Hey.
let's go.
Yeah.
But how fun that like I left such a rough situation and raw dogged it to New York knowing nobody and left back home with like a best friend. That
awesome.
like I can like
Who you relate to as well.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, you guys.
I'm literally that makes me so, I didn't like we've never
It's
like
so
fully
crazy.
told the story
Said it
like
that
that
way.
before, and like
I know, it really is beautiful.
such like a dark up time for me, and like to have you here too and like thriving and like
I know, like,
look
what are
at
we doing
us,
right now?
what
Like,
the
what?
fuck?
It's so
Like,
weird.
if me like 1-2 months sober like knew the kind of friendship that I had and the success I had in my recovery and the people I had around me, I would not have believed you.
Ever.
So
It's so
love you
cool to like
both.
find somebody that just sees you, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind
rare.
of part of what like makes a really great friendship. Someone that you can say whatever to, but also that you don't have to explain to at the
Right.
same time.
Totally.
And I can see it in you too, which is super cool.
Also, like we're so good at like we can give each other like a few days off,
Yeah.
and then we FaceTime each other. No one's mad about it.
Yeah.
Best kind. So my best
Best
friend,
kind.
same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always traveling, or I've lived in so
Right.
many different states, and it's one of those things where I've known her for so long, but we can go a month without talking to
Right.
each other, and it was like we talked yesterday,
Yeah.
and nobody's mad, and everybody
Totally.
gets it and understands. Like life's busy,
Yeah.
all the things. I think that's also a really important quality. Again, it's like people should be filling your cup. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Instead of the opposite, and it's that's
Yeah,
cool.
walking
I
on
love hearing your
eggshells.
story. Yeah, it's hard.
Friendships is like something that I'm really trying not to do
Yeah.
once I enter.
Wait, what'd you say?
Like walking on eggshells within friendships.
Oh, yeah,
Like the codependent friendships where you're like, are they mad at me? It's like, I don't
Yeah.
want to deal with that ever. So,
Shit's ass.
And
saying.
yeah, it's like something that you shed,
Yeah.
and I'm doing that.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
in-
we've
yeah,
all
I'm in
had
the-
those like friends that like
Yeah.
you like later down the line like realize they are like I was not kidding, like would probably wear my
Right.
skin if they could.
Yeah.
Right.
That dynamic is super weird.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
Like in love, low key, and
Yeah, and like constantly needing reinforcement,
Yeah.
but like in a negative way. Not
Right.
the like, are they mad at me way. It's like the like, why aren't
Where
you
you're
talking to
yeah,
me? Sort of
totally.
the thing. It's
Yeah.
yeah. There's those things that I just don't have time for anymore. And I hate to bring the mother thing back
I was
again.
gonna say you're a
but
full ass
please.
mom now.
what I will never understand is the type of mom that gets mad at another mom for not like responding in time or like being able to do something.
Oh, I
It's
can't
like,
imagine.
I don't understand like how you
Yeah.
you live this every day as well.
Right, you know how
like,
busy it
you
is.
You know how crazy it is.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me because
Yeah.
you know like it's wild.
I thought you were gonna say those moms that like low key want to date their sons. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking
Yo,
about.
it's so weird.
That is so weird.
Please stop doing that anyways. But that's
Or-
also crazy.
I grew up with this girl this is so fucked up. Her mom, her mom and her dad had like a shitty marriage in general, but her mom was like secretly or not secretly like dating her boyfriend.
Stop.
Which is so weird.
Dating whose boyfriend?
Her daughter's
Her
boyfriend.
daughter's boyfriend. How
Isn't
did
that
she find
so
out?
weird?
Wait, what?
We all kind of suspected it.
Wait, why?
Because they were really affectionate with each other in front of her.
They would
which
like
was,
make out
really
in front
weird.
of her.
Not quite. They might, and she might have not said anything, to be honest. But like, I just mean like while they were around. Actually, you know, it's even fucking worse.
Tell me.
My grandma dated my mom's ex-boyfriend.
Stop.
Oh, shoot.
My mom was a dancer. She came back from like a I don't know if it was like a month show or something like that, and she had like cut her hair and like dyed her hair, and she like walked back into her mom's apartment, and her I think that they were broken up, but like freshly.
Does
or
it
maybe there was
matter?
an overlap.
Yeah, that does
it actually matter?
It does not matter.
Right.
But how insane is that?
Wow.
Crazy.
So I will never understand.
Ever.
I will never. Just the thought that like
Yeah.
your daughter or your son had like done something with that person that you're.
Yeah. Oh
no
my
thanks.
God. Your own
it
flesh
just-
and blood.
Yeah.
I hooked up
Wow.
with twins once. Separately, though.
I feel like that's
That's like a little better.
Yeah.
that's interesting.
That is interesting.
Oh, separately.
Yeah, so like I hooked up with one on one occasion,
And then one on the other?
You know, a different year, I was like, you know what, fuck it, let me get both of them, and then
Well,
I did.
But I guess I don't know why that feels. Is that different?
Well, if it's
I
a
mean, I think-
threesome, I feel like that would be a
Well,
little.
yeah,
I think it'd be
that's-
weird if it was twins, you know, doing action together. I know that that's a
that
very common
that
thing.
is true. I
Yeah,
was
I
going to
heard
say
that's
I
a
think that
thing.
is pretty common, but also that is kind of. I didn't think
I
about
don't
the
know, I don't
psychology
know.
behind that.
Yeah,
either.
I'll never understand the dynamic of a twin because I know that they're like, they say that like a twin's bond is like
Crazy.
Yeah.
crazy. So it's like I don't even think to them it's like this
A thing.
weird thing. I
That's
think
kind
it's
of
that
why
there's
I-
like
Right.
this joint consciousness.
right.
Yeah. Were they identical?
So that's why we have sex with people together. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Were they identical?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like the sibling thing is different, but maybe it shouldn't be different. I don't know.
for sure.
No,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I feel like with siblings in general, you know, the siblings where you're like, are you low key? I can't even tell. Like, not even just
Like the
twins.
Oh,
Mendez
just like-
brothers.
Yeah.
Which actually, that's a funny thing to talk about too. Apparently, that part was like never actually a thing. It was like a what do you call it? They took a liberty with that
Oh,
storyline.
Ryan Murphy was
Oh,
like, let's make some sexual
yeah, because he
tension.
just everything has
Yeah.
everything is always extra
Weird and extra.
sexy
Yeah.
with him.
Interesting.
Out of anything you can add to the show, though, I'm like, oh, that's crazy. But
Isn't it bad enough?
right.
Isn't it up enough? Do we really need to
enough.
add in like that type of incest to it?
Yeah.
did you
interesting.
see there's just so many memes going on around like the internet right now, just with this whole Luigi character.
Oh my god, I know.
Someone
Like the
posted,
sympathizing with him sort of thing. Yeah.
and then
The thirst
someone posted they're like, Ryan Murphy is having a field day.
I saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Is,
calling Dave Franco
yes,
or
Dave Franco,
whatever
yeah.
it was.
Which
but, oh
they
my
do.
God.
Oh yeah. Okay.
They
Yeah, I
do
see
look.
it.
I feel like if they make Dave's
Eyebrows.
eyebrows just a little thicker,
Yeah.
you'll.
He's got those Italian eyebrows.
It is fascinating how society does that.
Yeah.
But it's
where they
so-
either like decide that they're guilty or not guilty before there's any.
Any
sort
evidence
of-
or
yeah,
any like
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of explanation or hearing or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I don't know. I just feel like we're so like picky choosy with what we let fly.
Right.
And I'm like, I just never would have expected that a bunch of like people would just be like thirsting over a murderer or alleged
It
murderer.
is so weird.
It
Or yeah, like
happens
those
all the
people
time,
that
yeah.
get like obsessed with serial killers.
Yeah, but then
Right.
it's like at the same time, it's like next week everyone's gonna be offended about something else that's like so small.
Right.
Right.
And then they're like last week y'all were praising an alleged murderer. So I'm
Right.
like, what is? I really just love society. Truly,
crazy.
I
I
think
think
it's
what
the
it
best.
is that if you can mutually hate somebody, you don't mind a crime that they do against that person, which I think is super fucked
Okay.
up. But do you know what I mean? I think that's
Yeah.
what it is. Like, oh, you know, our healthcare system is so fucked. This guy
Right.
like, abused,
Right.
you know, he like took money from people and whatever. And like,
I found that middle ground for sure.
and it's
Yeah.
like, it's almost like okay because of the person that he killed.
Right.
If It is him.
Probably helps that he's attractive too.
But that's what I'm
It
saying.
always
It's like
does,
also it's like
yeah.
the attractive and the fact that maybe we can all like get behind
Right.
hating the person that he
Yeah.
targeted because it doesn't feel as innocent. I think this is wrong and
Yeah,
fucked up. I just mean like
yeah.
I think psychologically I think that's a huge part of it.
Totally.
And depends on like where it swings. I will never understand the people that try to get into a relationship with people that are in prison.
I do.
Oh my gosh. Wait, love
Although
after
it's
lockdown?
a low,
What was
it's
it?
like a low maintenance relationship. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Right. It is really so wild because why in the world? You know what I'm saying?
There's this TikTok of this girl where all it is she just goes and visits her prison boyfriend that she met on one of those prison websites.
One of those prison
girl,
websites.
I'm sorry.
He's
Fine
hot.
as fuck.
Okay, and he can't
He is
cheat.
fine as fuck.
He can't cheat.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know all
Can't
those.
cheat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait, maybe we should.
No. Oh my god. No, I just it is very difficult because you want to like spend time with someone or like
Right.
just not maybe have them in prison.
It's a
Ideal.
very complicated long-term
Right.
or long-distance relationship.
Yeah, and I guess it
Totally.
depends on like when they're getting out. Like if you like
Yeah.
meet someone online, they're out in like a year.
There are people that target
I'm
people on death
pre-ordering,
row,
baby.
though. Like there are people that know that person will never get out of prison
And they still date them.
and they still date them. Yeah.
Well, then
Avoidant.
that's kind of good. though.
Yeah.
It's like
I relate
you-
to the avoidant attachment, but not. I wouldn't do that because I want to like date someone who's like, you know.
If you would, that's okay. I want to know why, you know.
So true, and thank you for providing that space. But I have been working a lot of my avoidant tendencies. Something I'm working through. Wouldn't date someone in prison, just like not my thing.
Is it because it's like it's convenient? Like you can have that space from somebody on your own terms, kind of. You know,
Like
a lot of
why I'm
people have
avoidant?
a hard time sharing their life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've discovered through the years I'm like so scared of a man embarrassing me that I'm like I might as well just date people I don't know. I mean, I don't like because I'm like, never met you. Dating people I don't like is something I've done because I'm like the breakup's gonna be seamless. But it's like, why would I
Right.
do that?
Interesting.
Why don't I date people I like? And then scared of getting hurt, scared of looking like a clown. Like you announce a man online, a fucking ticking time bomb is like until he embarrasses you. You know what I'm saying?
Don't you
What is it called?
embarrass
A
me,
hard launch?
A hard launch.
Yes,
But I'm
the hard
working on
launch.
it. I'm working on it because if they do clown shit, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I just showed up and was in love. Sue me.
Hey,
What about you?
we were talking about you're such a fucking character. I'm obsessed with you. We were talking about this a few episodes ago as well, just like different attachment styles, and I don't know if it was like a psychologist YouTube video or like some sort of like mental health podcast, but I was watching it and listening to it, and it was like you keep blaming yourself for going after emotionally unavailable men, for example, and you keep wondering why you're hurt and why these people are emotionally unavailable. And he was basically like, newsflash, you're going after these emotionally unavailable men because you subconsciously know that they're going to be
Right. You know it. You
emotionally unavailable.
Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's you could tell with tendencies, and you know that those people are easily grouped.
Yeah.
And he was like, you are actually the emotionally unavailable one.
Oh,
Because you are going after something that you know you're not going to get back.
Interesting. Yeah. That makes
Interesting,
total
right?
sense. Yeah.
And like, I then was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go out and like find a really nice person. And then I did.
Were they the
And
worst?
I was just miserable. I'm like, why are you? And there's obviously a balance, of course. I think that like I like some sort of like challenge, and I like some sort of like moment where there's like a limbo phase versus like this is gonna be super easy. There's definitely a balance to be found there.
I think there's a lot of people that have to like date somebody that is obsessed with them, but they're not as obsessed with.
Why do they
Yeah.
say that?
person.
They say that the man has to be more obsessed with the woman in order for it to work out. That's what I've heard. In
That's
a straight
interesting.
relation.
Yeah, well, because I think
Yeah.
part of that is even if that's not like your person, you almost have to date somebody like that to like see the opposite side and be like, you're just because somebody's really nice doesn't mean that they're going to be fulfilling, right? Which is why you get bored.
Totally.
But you can't also go for that bad boy who's just a fucking ass that's just going to treat you like
somewhere
shit.
in the direct
You
middle.
have to find somebody that is interesting enough to you that has like maybe challenge isn't the right word, but more of like a
little stubbornness.
well, something that like you can't relate to almost.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to have a lot of things in common, but like something that is interesting about them that you
new
can't,
to understand.
That is that you can't like find in somebody else.
Totally agree.
Was yours like off the bat? Because you knew him when you guys grew up together,
We
right?
grew up together. We've just known each other. I was actually just talking about this the other day. I always tell my friends who are dating, like, do not compare yourself to us.
Right.
We've known each other forever. There was no like finding out the real colors.
Okay.
We knew who our families were, who our exes were, you know, all of our different tendencies without like showing all of the pretty colors first.
Yeah.
Right.
Things that you like learn about a partner, you know,
Wow.
for the first couple years.
Right.
We already knew before we started dating. And we were friends first. So all the things.
That's
like
ideal.
you can't compare us to like a relationship that you're starting or a guy that you just met or a girl that you just met. Like it's not going to be the same thing. Qualities, sure, like standards and things that we prioritize, I think are good to maybe look for, but like don't compare our relationship to yours for that exact reason.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, when we started dating, I mean, I think Tinder was like already a thing, but like we never really like experienced the dating app phase.
Thank God.
It's brutal.
I mean, yeah, I'm not envious.
Yeah, don't be.
I live vicariously through my friends. I'm like, can I see it? Can I see
Yeah.
it? Because it's like it's gamified, right? It's
right.
like dating that's now
Yeah.
gamified,
Oh, yeah,
which is
just
Window
so-
shopping.
Right, window shopping. However, now that it's more normal, I feel like in ways you know more about somebody than you would like just meeting them at a bar or a club or like at a restaurant, because like those people can also say whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
They can pretend to live wherever
Right.
they want to live. They can have whatever job they pretend to have, and it's only later that you find out like what type of person they are. You might be meeting them by chance, but that doesn't mean that they're any more transparent than somebody on a dating app.
Totally.
So I think now that it's like more of a norm on a social level, in ways it's like more efficient.
Yeah.
It is,
and-
but also at the same time, psychologically, it fucks a lot of us up because there is
Who else
unlimited
are you
options.
talking to? Or all
Exactly.
the-
I'm like, how dare you? If you match with me, it should only be me.
It's
that you're
delete
talking
the
to.
app.
Yeah.
oh, absolutely.
Delete
Yeah.
the app. Yeah. I
So-
just deleted all the apps. I was like, I can't.
Yeah, I'm
can't do it.
getting there, but like it's especially when they get money involved and algorithms involved with these apps,
Yeah.
and like
That's
Right.
right.
it really plays like mind games on people, and just even if you find someone that you really truly like these motherfuckers will just keep swiping until they think they found the one. Like these apps make you feel like they're the one is on there, and it's
Right.
like I don't necessarily know if I believe in the one.
Yeah, okay.
You
Yeah.
know, like maybe, right? And if it does, it'll happen eventually. But like, if you swiped long enough, I don't know if it's really gonna be like slots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Where it's
Yeah,
like
that
you're
jackpot,
gonna,
like,
yeah,
you know.
like I think you just
Sparklers go off.
Right.
you
Yeah.
give enough people a fair chance.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does, like, don't throw that away to keep swiping.
Well, I think ultimately it's also about finding out like what you want. Like if you want to date a whole bunch of people at the same time, cool. Just make sure
Yeah.
you're finding somebody else that also wants to date a whole bunch of
Right.
people at the same
Exactly.
time.
Yeah. That's what I run into sometimes.
Right. So it's
'cause I
like,
can't
let's just be
casually
transparent
date.
about it.
Yeah.
Like, don't lie about it. If you want to see
Yeah.
more than one person, okay, but give me the
Right.
opportunity to like consent to that or
Right.
not.
Please.
I think that's really all it comes down to. Like, it's not
Yeah.
about, it's just about being truthful.
Yeah.
totally.
Because, especially women, I feel like we like overthink everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would just be nice to see more people just be upfront about that. But I think it takes, I think the people that do it behind your back are the ones that like get a high off of that.
Yeah.
They
it's-
wouldn't enjoy it that as much if
Yeah.
you knew about it.
Right.
On my profile, I never like to hide anything. If someone can't clock that I'm trans, I have that happen where it's like these people will be talking to me and then they like don't catch on to that. I'm very much in the space and the energy of being super upfront about that, because if there is something developing, and this has happened, and I've made this mistake before, and I've never gone sexually without telling anyone something, because that's crazy, in my personal opinion. But I just have that shit in my bio now. I'm like, I don't want that to be a conversation. And if you see that and you don't like that, like, X me. Yeah. Because, like, I don't want to develop something and then get up mentally down the line withholding information that is extremely vital. I try to be as upfront as possible. And a lot of these men really don't love to admit that they're into something different.
Right.
And it's very taboo to them, and it's very, like, we talk about it all the time. I talk about it all the time, and I rant to her about it, and then she calms me down. But it's like, you'd be so surprised. Every single fucking man, I swear to God, is like, I have 80% of the people that I match with that, like, find out, like, they don't care.
That's awesome.
But it's like, no, because they'll never admit it.
Oh, I see.
It's so secretive. Even like the conservatives that
even if they're like down for it, they just want to keep it a secret.
Oh my God. It's like, it would be the end of the fucking world. And how does, like, that makes me feel so shitty.
Well, yeah, absolutely. What is the most common, like, is it anger? Is it ghosting? Is it like, what is the most common reaction?
If they're truly surprised, they think about it and then will either just give me an answer on the spot or like block me immediately, and then love. But then the ones that do, like, will think on it and then just like kind of just like pop in, pop out. But my favorite genre is the one that says they want a relationship and they wouldn't care, and then you go on dates and then you finally hook up with them and then they disappear.
Oh, I love that
one.
Wait,
Isn't that the best genre? I love that one.
That is awful.
Yeah.
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 So
it's the worst.
But we're making it through. I mean, I feel like my life just started. I only got sober 3 years ago and started transitioning 5 years ago. So it was like, I feel like the past, like, year is like really the first year that I feel like my life started again.
Yeah.
My adult years. So.
And that has to feel good.
Yeah. For sure. But
complicated,
I mean,
but like,
I think it's a little confusing. Like, I don't think I'm old, but I'm 26, and it's
you are
just,
not old.
I know. I don't think I am, but it's like, it's so weird because it's like, I feel like I have been living a life. I feel like I'm 40, 50 years old.
You feel like you've lived 10 lives.
Yeah, and then at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, I'm starting an 11th? This whole year, it feels like a completely different version.
Well, I'm super, like, happy to have met you.
So happy
both of you. And I am so glad that you're open to talking about this kind of stuff, because I think ultimately there's no progress without talking about it.
Totally.
You know, nobody's going to get let themselves get more comfortable with it if they have that opinion without having more empathy and understanding. Because it is this, like, taboo thing that should never be taboo in the first place. But I think there are so many mental blocks based on, like, that traditional...
Yeah, societal blocks.
Yeah, and it just takes people getting to know you.
Yeah.
Right. And I think
it's
people
hard
just...
with an app.
Which is really hard with an app.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, you're such a cool, special person.
Thank you.
And that should really be all that it's about.
Yeah. Right.
You know, like, I don't care what people do or what they believe as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we're facing that right now with social media. Whereas it's like, there is no reason to hate another person. Why do they have to get involved?
They shouldn't be allowed on any apps.
Well, I think it's because they secretly want to be us or f us.
Yeah. I mean, it's so wild.
But,
and
but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my thing is, like, hey, if, like, can we go back to that, like, kid thing where it's like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all.
Right.
Like, if you don't like it, just shut the up and go away.
Exactly.
It's so
nobody's
weird.
asking you to get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that I think is what hurts me the most about situations like this is, like, it's not scary. People are people.
Yeah.
Like, let people do whatever the they want if it's not hurting anyone else. And it's just sad that, like, these little stupid humps that people can't get over are really affecting and hurting other people.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like, it might be an unpopular opinion in some spaces, but, like, America could have the opportunity to, like, truly let everybody live whatever life they want to live. If we gave that freedom what it should be, everybody could have that right. that we claim to have. You know, everybody is supposed to have freedom of religion and freedom to be who they are, and we're not quite there.
No.
Yeah, we're really far from
literally
it.
so far.
We don't like, you know, practice what we preach all the time, and that's
we don't. And like, you're talking about like the comments and all of that shit, and I'm like, people are so weird around like anything related to LGBTQIA+. Like, you're obsessed. It's like all they talk about. It's all they think about. It infuriates me. And these people with like big platforms, like spewing this trans rhetoric. I'm like, you weirdo. Like, what are you talking? Why are you so obsessed with it? Like, why don't you just let people live their lives and stop being weird as fuck? It makes me so, and like, and it's not, you know, it's just like in general, like
stuff
women
that they
in general
really don't know anything about.
You've never met a trans person ever in your life. You don't know anything about them. You just like listen to your weird dad. Like, you're a loser.
Get into it.
You're a loser, and you'll never find genuine happiness.
Yeah.
And I will fight you. So
I think that's exactly what I mean, and like what I'm getting at is like, you know, at the end of the day, like, I don't want anybody to raise their kids with hate. So don't like get this misconstrued. But like, if you don't agree with something, you can explain it to your kids however you want to explain it to your kids. Just don't raise them to hate other people.
It's not that hard.
You know, and also like let other people have their own rights. Let them live their own life.
Totally.
But I think that's it. At the end of the day, it's like people fear what they don't understand.
Totally.
And everything in life.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, though, there is a little bit of truth to my one controversial earlier statement. There's like such a space of people who hate on things such as like a trans person like me, but it's more so they're angry at themselves because they want to whip it out. Babe, it would be so, if we just sat in private and I just talked to you about like the stories, the rappers, the athletes, like there's everyone
many.
Doesn't actually give a fuck to their core, and they're all these men are lying to each other. Fuck these, that shit's so fucking gay.
Yeah,
y'all are all fucking me.
Right.
Okay, well they actually
They're
did
all
it.
sliding into your DMs.
You know what's gay? Like a man and a man. That's gay. Like, what do you? I hate when they talk about
And
like
it's
what's
not
gay.
a bad thing at all.
I'm like, it is. No, I'm kidding.
Okay. The podcast took a turn.
No, but it's so wild when they say, they just like all care so much what their friends think, and it's like, nobody actually like cares, but they're just like, what are they gonna think?
It's so funny, and they all like are like trying to make their other guy friends believe them, but they're all just like at the end of the day, like, it's so funny. But I also feel like I'm living a curse.
I had this friend that had a conversation with their parent.
Okay.
Which was like a situation where their parent was homophobic. And was concerned about lots of different things. I'm going to try and make this as vague as possible so I don't like actually pinpoint anybody. This friend was complaining about the atmosphere that the grandparent was creating for their kid.
Right.
Like you don't have to speak on this in front of my kid. Unintentionally in front of their child was like, Dad, my kid isn't going to suck another if he doesn't want to.
Oh my God.
Just because he's hanging around a kid that is gay does not mean that he's going to suck that kid's if he doesn't want to.
Hello.
This kid was like,
I'm dead.
But there is it's funny.
Yeah.
But there is, I mean, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is that element of like, there's a fear element that like, if you accept it or you hang out, well, it's going to rub off on you.
Right.
It's like, we shouldn't care about that. You know, you love who you love, but also that's not how it works.
No, they were all like,
it's not a disease.
Anytime
that
there's
spreads.
like gay anything in media, people are like, this is influencing the kids. I'm like, all I see is straight people making out, and like it doesn't influence everything. Yeah, I'm like, that's wrong.
No, there's a plethora of other things that are influencing kids,
like,
and that's not one of them.
Being gay is not a choice. I just don't get why people don't understand that.
One thing I know is that I'm good at what I do, so I'm just gonna focus on my career. And if someone comes along the way, then like they'll come along the way. But I can't distract myself from what I do because time is just moving so fast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are we in December? And I know
It's crazy.
that 26 is young, but I really feel like I was 18 yesterday at the same time as me also feeling 50. So I don't really understand
When's
time.
your birthday?
September 30th, Libra.
Okay, so you just turned 26.
Right.
Basically.
Pretty
So
much.
you're 25. What do you think about
No,
it?
well, I'm actually 20.
Yeah,
because
no,
I'm not
literally.
30.
Right.
Well, if we take all the years, you know, we 2020, we gotta.
Yes,
Right.
subtract.
Yeah.
Oh, and all
Subtract.
the years of me pre-transition. So I'm actually
You're
baby.
5.
I'm like 4 or 5 right now. That's actually insane.
Are you okay with people, like random people asking you questions? Because I actually have a
Yeah.
question for you, and this is like based again on raising my kid, like raising a boy, right? You know, I do the best I can to like explain things the way that I can, the best to my ability. How do you think, this is a generalized question, how do you think people should be talking to their kids about it? Like, what do you think that conversation, like ultimately, ideally for the future looks like? That's a really big question.
No, it is a really,
and
really big
everybody's gonna have
question.
a
It's
different
also
opinion
quite
on it.
political question. So I'm going to have to like think of how I'm going to word this because
And that's totally
I
okay.
don't. There's so many sides to this question that I feel like
Absolutely.
I understand. I think with the internet existing and with technology and AI and whatever is going to happen, like with the kids that we have today, I couldn't even imagine the resources that they're going to have when they're, 9, 10, 11, 12. So regardless of like if a certain type of parent doesn't want to talk to their kid about this topic, like they're going to find out eventually.
Right.
And the only way to approach that conversation is to just, in my opinion, like live your life and raise your kid with 100% acceptance. And like,
Right.
you don't even need to say like, if you feel like you're trans, let me know. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
you don't want to, I don't want to say you don't want to put things in their head, but like, if they really feel that way, like I did, like you'll start to know as you grow up and as you find clothes and, hang around with other people and figure out what works for you. And you're like, wait, you figure that out. Like that is very evident.
Yeah.
For a true trans person, it is very evident, and you don't need someone to tell you, and you can't be influenced by that thought. So my only approach is just to absolutely raise your child with 100% respect and just let them know that whatever it is you want to do, I'm still going to be your mother.
That means I'm on the right track, so that's good. No, because
1000%.
that's what it is. It's like I want Hendrix to be able to come to me with
anything.
Right.
Anything.
any question. No matter what it is. It's like I will love you no matter what.
Right.
And yeah, but I guess I should rephrase the question because thank you for answering that.
Of course.
But also like how, because this is what I didn't expect about being a parent is like, obviously I'm not at this point yet, but I know that I will be, which is it's hard to figure out how to have a conversation with your kid about, there are lots of different people out there who love, like explaining what LGBTQ is.
Yeah,
We'll
basically.
put that as like as an example is like, there are beautiful people in the world and
Right.
people are different. Like, what's the best way to have that conversation?
Yeah.
Because I think what it is that kids are curious.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is a great thing. Kids should be curious. They should ask questions. They want to find out like what things mean. And I think like when they see something that they've never seen before, they're going to ask that question. And my biggest fear actually is him unintentionally offending somebody. So it's like it's just something that he's never experienced before. Just like, kids are at the age where they like point something out that's different that they've never seen before, right? Which is like, I don't know, this is a stupid example, so forgive me. But like, why do people have glasses? And that's a super innocent one. And it's like, what are those, Mom? And you like explain, well, some people need glasses because their eyes and whatever. So it's like kids naturally point things out that they don't understand.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to tell that to your parent. It's another thing to point it out in front of somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that is like, how do you, and so this is not even necessarily a question to like answer, but it's like, as a parent, it's hard to like, at every age, try to present an answer that's age appropriate.
Right.
I'm not saying to put on like Drag Race on the TV.
Right. To like, which, by the way, I love.
Yeah.
I want to teach him respect and acceptance
Totally.
and for him to be whatever he wants to be.
Yeah.
And the age appropriate conversations for those are just difficult. So I think ultimately, a long story short, that's more so what it is.
You're
is
doing
like,
it.
Yeah.
Everything that you've told me, you're doing it, and I don't think it's these phases of life and these eras that are just all they are conversations, and these conversations will turn into behaviors. And I'm not worried about you.
Yeah,
And I'm not
you're
worried
kinda
about, like,
sliding.
at least from, like, what I've heard and, like, what I've seen, like, I don't think that that's an issue. I don't think you're going to raise an asshole. And I think he's
Yeah.
going to be understanding. I mean,
And I think some of it's inevitable. Like you're talking about, like him pointing at people like, "Why are you wearing those glasses?" Like, I did offensive shit when I was younger like that, and then my mom would be like, "You can't do that." And sometimes like it might happen, and you can't like prevent him from like
the other day,
making those mistakes.
I think he offended a sweet little like 11-year-old girl because he was like, "What do you have on your teeth?" And she had braces on, and she
Right.
was super self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, "Oh, I
It's
feel so
like-
bad." Like he didn't mean it that
Yeah.
way.
Right.
He's just never seen
it's
braces
so
before.
yeah, it's inevitable. Like
So I was like, yes, some people have these things on their teeth. To, like, you know, you explain it, and then you're like, now you can ask mommy or daddy about it, but don't point it out in front of other people,
Right.
or to that person. But it's just a really hard thing for them to comprehend,
Totally.
and it's not malicious.
no, not at all.
But yeah,
That's why it's good you're teaching him when he's young, because some people, you know, they grow up and they do it on purpose, and they're like, "Oh,
Right.
what's that on you?" And then
Yeah,
it's like,
no,
"Hey,
don't-
you're
don't be a
grown.
dick."
Why are you doing that?" So
yeah.
you're doing it right. Not that I'm a
Doing it.
mom, but
not that I'm
You're
wrong.
slaying.
I have
This is
DNA
the
in a
stuff that
freezer
keeps me up at
somewhere.
night.
So technically,
DNA in a freezer.
I do. I'm potentially a future mom, but
Oh,
I
wait,
don't.
explain.
Just before I got on hormones, I put my shit into a cup and then fucking froze it. But I don't. I have that alcoholic gene. But I don't know. I mean, it's fucking expensive, babe.
Yeah.
To pay
I
yearly
bet.
for that cryotherapy.
Damn.
But like, yeah, I don't know the alcoholic gene, but like, it's gonna be
There are
Whatever.
so
fun.
many
It skips
amazing things
generations.
now, though.
Yeah.
yeah.
There are so many amazing ways to go about like everything as far as surrogacy goes.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a friend that has, or friends that have a surrogacy company, and
Oh,
to
wow.
see their journey
Can I have their
is
number? No, I'm kidding.
amazing.
I'm not
Yeah.
ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Yeah, and just being able to like
Yeah.
potentially have that available for you if you want it later
Yeah.
is super cool.
Yeah.
Super, super cool. And so cool that we can do those things now.
Yeah.
Totally.
And medical advances are just amazing as
Yeah.
well. We have his umbilical cord blood and stem cells
Oh, wow.
in a cryo chamber.
What-
That's a new thing now
Wait.
that's been around for quite a while.
Is it for stem cell stuff?
But so basically, anybody that he's connected to, as far as his DNA goes, so like if he gets sick or we get sick, whether it's like cancer or, I mean, they're constantly developing ways where stem cells can help, but there you can preserve those, and they can.
Oh, wow.
So it can not
help
only
treat you.
help him, it can help,
It can help. Yeah, exactly.
other people connect. That's so,
Isn't that crazy?
Wait, that's so
yeah.
cool.
yeah.
But it's expensive.
Well, that's fuck. Yeah, I'm sure.
And God forbid, I never want to use it.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
I never want to have to use it, but amazing that like
Is an option.
is an option.
Yeah.
I just read the other day that somebody she had a brain tumor when she was 23, and she was studying neuroscience. She knew that she was going to die, so
Okay.
she put it in her will that she wanted to be decapitated, and she wanted her
Used
head
her-
to be put into a cryo chamber in case, who knows, 20,
Well, it's-
50,
Wow.
100 years from now, they can take your
Oh.
conscience and stick it, which is just
Oh my
wild.
Did that actually
God.
happen?
Yeah,
Like,
she-
it's
yeah.
the heads in the.
Yeah, there was a whole interview of the brother and her boyfriend like visiting the cryo chamber, and like her parents were naturally upset about that situation.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it was like the whole family dynamic and like how they were processing that.
Oh my goodness.
That is a
Are you a
potential
spiritual
future. Isn't that
person?
crazy? I grew up
Or
Christian.
religion. Okay.
I have difficulty with organized religion. I'm not
Same.
an atheist.
Same. No, same.
Yeah.
I just like, do you really think that like the consciousness is in just the head?
I don't know.
So many unanswered questions.
So many, like, just.
I mean,
I think that like the world and humanity is so incredible, and they're so amazing. It's amazing what we've been able to accomplish. Right. I mean, just in general, the way that things develop, the way that nature develops is like super cool and fascinating.
I know.
But I don't know.
Have you ever done like the spooky stuff, like gone to a psychic or a medium?
No.
I guess that's not spooky, but
I have a hard time with that stuff, not because I'm afraid of it. I don't know.
You're a very logical person.
I think that's kind of what
it scares me. I did a tarot reading and like all of it's come true, and I'm never doing it again.
So I think a lot of that to me is like how much of that is just like the course of life versus like how much of that is like luck as far as prediction goes, like things that you potentially could be prone to that somebody picks up on versus
I went to one psychic and they were like, you want to make money, and I was like
no shit,
you're like,
this is a waste of money.
I would like to live. I would like to be able to feed myself. I think the mind is very powerful.
Right,
for sure. That's so tricky. I'm just like thinking about that right now.
Yeah, so I don't know how I feel about that on like for myself.
Yeah.
Like would I do that? Right. Would I want to continue life in a different body? Would it be the same consciousness? Would it be the same?
Me begging.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many questions there. There's so many like even just ethics, like even just humans living longer than we have now.
Oh, it's gonna happen in this generation, I think.
I think some version of it.
Yeah.
Another thing that I just saw recently was that they're classifying Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes.
What?
Which I thought was really fascinating. So there's new developments on like insulin resistance and certain things that correlate with diabetes that they found in Alzheimer patients. And the reason that that's fascinating to me is because I have PCOS, which is a hormone issue, and that is also, insulin resistance is a huge part of that. And I think all of those types of things are really fascinating, like all of the brain chips that are like being developed to like help people with epilepsy and help with like spinal issues, and it's incredible what they can do, but it's also terrifying.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of the fear of that capability is going to get in the way of that type of research and those advances, and should it? It's like all of those types of those ethical questions are fascinating. Yeah, like cloning.
Don't.
Would
twins?
you?
We don't need more twins.
This is what I'm saying is like that to me.
You wouldn't clone,
but because the other problem is that you're not going to know the effects of that for decades.
Giving the substance.
Just because it's possible doesn't mean that like we should.
You should do it.
Yeah, what if the clone sucks too, or like tries
they
to
even
kill
say
you?
that about pets. Like you can clone pets now.
Yeah,
so that's a thing that is right.
$50,000. I wanted to do it so bad, but then I realized I'm like, let's be ethical.
Yeah,
but not only that, like a lot of them aren't.
Like they don't make it.
Yeah, they don't make it, or they get there's like some sort of disease that comes with it, or they don't act like your pet did.
Oh, well, why would they? It's a whole different consciousness. So, no, I don't think I actually.
So that's the weird thing. Is like,
totally. I think it just gets it really close to the DNA, but like
it's not the same.
I think I was just more so upset and I wanted my dog back.
Well, of course,
but
it's like that Black Mirror episode. Did you see that one?
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Right.
It feels like Black Mirror.
I truly think anything that's born has its own unique little consciousness code version of itself, and if you try to recreate
you can't replicate it.
You can replicate it.
No,
I think I lean in that direction as well.
Yeah.
That's
everyone's a little snowflake that's like different. Or what else is different? Or like everyone's like a little like
fingerprint.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that is true. All I know to be true is everyone has their own unique fingerprint.
I think twins have the same fingerprint and the same.
Oh, so I'm never
that
talking
is
again.
also probably true. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh my God, thanks for having us.
I really enjoyed this.
Dude, that chocolate croissant.
It's calling my name.
Calling my name.
I think
Literally.
we should all.
Yeah,
I think we should.
absolutely.
Yeah, we should definitely. But yeah, I really appreciate it, and I think all of our listeners are going to be super excited.
Oh my God,
so
stop.
appreciate it. I look forward to more conversations.
Yes,
Me
I know.
too.
And you came on.
And I'm really looking forward to being on your side.
Yes.
I can't wait.
So guys,
Check
come
it
check
out.
it out.
Your show in
Sasha came
general.
on 6 Feet Above.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I love that name.
Oh, thank
I
you.
love 6 Feet Above.
Well, we love Women in the Nude.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So-
Women in the nude who are 6 feet or above.
Yep.
There you go.
I mean, it's given the same thing.
It
honestly,
is,
I love
yeah.
it.
It's excellent. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Till next time.
you.